Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. Now, I don't know about you, but I know I've heard this before. You got to take things easy once you reach a certain age. You can't expect to do things you did in your 20s and your 30s. Well, once you get to 60, you got to expect there to be a bit of pain and this constant narrative. And when we get to our midlife and beyond, we got to expect this slow down until we slow down so much we're stuck to our armchair. Well, my guest today believes that is a lie, and I must admit I have to agree with a longevity coach and an exercise science expert and the author of the book The Goat Within, and he has trained athletes across the globe as well as Forbes 200 business leaders. He is also the creator of the fitness quadrant system and the modified interval training, which is all based around one core belief that muscle is magic, and that by taking care of it, exercising it well, you can actually add an extra high quality 10 years to your life. But his mission now is to help people fight against aging. So if, like me, you're not willing to give in to illness, weakness, and slowing down, this episode is going to change everything for you. So welcome to the show, the incredible Tim Ward. Welcome.
Wow, thank you so much. What an introduction. Wow.
It's an absolute pleasure. I love the energy you bring to everything. It's fantastic. So I'm really excited to talk to you, for you to share your
Mm,
story, your methods, and really get people excited about getting fitter
mm.
in their midlife and beyond. So this is exciting. What I have to say is, like, you're one of these amazing people, and I'm seeing this a lot more across my discussions. And I really want to inspire people to be like this, is people really using their exercise, their fitness, and even sport, like extreme sport, as a way that they've used to combat challenges in their life, but actually excel in later life. And you're no exception when it comes to that.
Yeah, so, the stuff that is really important for people to just take a second, out of your busy lives. We're all so busy and there's so many distractions, okay? But really take a moment and start to look at your journey. You're going to realize, and everybody's heard this a million times, okay? You're going to realize that, your vessel, your body, you only have one of them. It's not like a car that you're going to trade in every 7 years, or some object that you have that you can get rid of and buy something new. You can't do that, okay? And there is something that I tell everybody, whether I'm speaking in front of a corporate group or an event, or if I'm working with a client, a new client, onboarding them. I spend a lot of time trying to get a mental engagement out of people and to think about this statement. And here it is: your health and your wellness at some point in your life will be the dominating number one priority for yourself. Okay. Whether you choose it or it chooses you, it will, everybody listening, it will become the number one issue in your life. And I say that out of the passion and the love I have for what proper fitness practices, wellness practices, all these things can bring to you, can bring to people. It's a very complex science and it gets so watered down. And in that process, because there's so many variables to really good fitness practices. Look, anybody can go into a gym or try to get a quick little, 10,000 steps or whatever it is, and that's not a bad thing,
Hmm.
but it ends up becoming a further distraction on holding people back from the reality, the things they really should be doing to literally increase their lifespan by 10 years or more. And it's
Hmm.
not just those extra years, it's the quality of those years. It's a science. It's a big time science. Not a ton of people in the fitness space really understand how to put together these systems, and then teach them. Okay. So I know hundreds and hundreds of trainers, of course, in the US, but now that, my book has become a bestseller globally, I do a lot of shows I've been invited on. So I get a lot of trainers from Australia, from, Spain, Italy, some from Singapore that, they hear me and, they email me, which I love when people interact with us, and they're like, "Why, man, I heard you on a show and I never realized the way you put fitness and the way you put the longevity mechanisms in play, it really made sense to me." And, hopefully we'll get a chance, during, our discussion, Julia, where I can talk a little bit about that stuff. And I'm sure, in what you do, Julia, as well, you try to get this data, this knowledge out of your head into somebody else's head to make them
Yeah.
realize There is an answer. You do not need to age into decay and weakness and more pharmaceuticals, okay? You don't have to do that. If that's the route you're on, that really means, and that's 90% of society. Oh, I'm 62. I'm not supposed to feel great, or I'm not supposed to
Yeah.
be active. Bullshit. Use my language. That's not true. You've been
Yeah.
trained like a flea is trained for the circus. You've been trained to think a certain way. And I'm telling you right now, it is garbage. It's rubbish. You don't need that. Okay. So I have several hundred clients around the world at this point that I've brought on. I've onboarded them. I spend a lot of time with them with what I do. And they literally come back to me after 8 to 10 weeks and they say, you know what? You're right. I feel unbelievable and I'm becoming more and more active and I'm becoming more and more able to
Mm.
participate in activities in my life. It could be with their grandkids or their kids or their spouse. And you know what that really means? They are gaining back their freedom. When you become part of this whole matrix, I'll call it, for lack of a better word, and you have to go on another pharmaceutical because the doctor said this. So, but listen, you are playing right into the hands of billions and billions of dollars of revenue for these massive companies. You don't need to age that way. I have so many clients in their 70s. I have a fair amount in their 80s that have completely turned their life around by finally choosing to listen and put a strategy in place. And it's not that hard, all based on knowledge and your ability to focus in to do something for yourself as you're aging. You can break out of this little decline that you may be experiencing when you're, 48 or 55 or 68 years old. These are my words to you. Don't accept it. Learn how to strategize and press back against it. And that's what we do. And that's what my company does is we work people through these information levels, onboard them, and we write an entire blueprint ecosystem for what we call it for people. And I have those steps that we'll go through on how we approach it. It's been very successful because people can follow it. Actually, I've taken 30 years of exercise sciences and I've put them into these trademark systems. And the reason I did that is because people can follow a system, but they can't follow loads and loads of just information, new data coming at them all the time, right? So I put it into systems so people can really kind of understand, you know what? This makes sense. And, if I just follow these things and move myself into following these patterns, you know what? I might just move the needle on myself, health-wise, longevity, all the things that we as human beings, we strive for.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to be more energetic? Who doesn't want to be less fat and a little bit more muscle, right? Who doesn't want that glow of just healthy skin and your eyeballs that are healthy and you're out in society and you're with your friends? And I mean, we all want that. If you don't want that, that's fine. I talk about in my book, we've been given the gift of choice. You can choose whatever you want, and I never judge anybody. It's not my job, right? But my job is if people really want to learn how to apply some science to what they're doing, it's just like anything else. If you want to get results out of something, if you want to be better at something in your life, could be music, it could be hobby, you're going to spend time in that world to understand it and to be more efficient and better at it. And there's
Yeah.
no better thing in your life to do that for your own health and wellness and longevity. I truly, truly think it's the number one issue that people should weave into their lifestyle, but they have to do it the right way, or they're either going to get injured or they're going to, get
Sure.
no results and then they quit. And it's because they haven't gained the right knowledge in order to do this for themselves. So
I just
I'm sure you see the same stuff, Julia,
Yeah, and it's interesting you're saying this because I do want to get into all the science shortly, but
Mhm.
I want to first sort of get into the mind. I mean, obviously, I'm a midlifer myself. The mind of something is you spoke earlier. Who doesn't want to feel great and energetic and glowing and feeling youthful, even though they may be older, but they still have that youthful energy about them? What is going on in the mindset of someone? I know it's like a pre-programmed narrative, as I said earlier. We're made to believe this, which is all nonsense. And it is about choice. It's, if you want to slow down and take it easy, that's your choice. It's up to you. Great. But if you don't, then what's going on in the mindset of someone who suddenly feels fearful or not sure they can do something like this. And then obviously you need to take them on a system, a process, because you can't just go from 0 to 100. You've got to have a gradual progression there. But I'm just wondering what's going on. First of all, getting to know the sort of individual who has that kind of mindset or concerns about their health and wellness moving forward.
Really the beginning stage of somebody life, maybe they're in their mid 40s, maybe mid 50s, career, they've attained some great, milestones in their career. They may have a young family or whatever it may be, and they've accomplished some of those things. But all along, their health is slipping. They don't feel as energetic. They're a little foggy. They don't feel like they've got that vibrancy anymore. And guess what? They don't. That's what aging does. Aging starts to slow down, biological and metabolic systems in our body. At about that 45-year-old mark, things start to change. We have drop-offs in many different functions in our body, from metabolic health, from our bodies don't produce energy as efficient as it did when they were you were in your 20s and 30s. So naturally, we're going to start to have a little bit of a decline, right? So the question is, are you going to let that decline continue? Are you actually going to speed that decline up, or are you going to say, time out, I need to make some changes that are going to really, really benefit me? And so that mental thought pattern of getting real with yourself, like, where do I want to be in 5 to 10 years? If I talk to somebody that's 50 years old and they're really starting to feel these effects, I ask them, where do you think you're going to be in 10 years if you're starting to feel like it right now? Because it only speeds up. That nosedive, that decay, it speeds up. So I often tell people it is so important by the time you hit 40, 45 years old, certainly in your 50s or 60s, it is the most important time if you're going to involve your lifestyle, if you're gonna take your lifestyle and put comprehensive fitness protocols, and we'll talk about what that really means.
Yeah.
Now's the time, because man, you are losing it at a more rapid pace every year that goes by, just like muscle loss. Everybody at this point kind of knows, by the time you're mid 40s, you're starting to lose about a pound of muscle every year. Some people a little bit more. And then
Which is a considerable amount, really, if you think about it over time.
yeah, when we're young, we don't have to worry about those things. I do a lecture, really a 5-minute presentation at events and corporate speaking, that I talk about your life in decades. Okay, you've got 8 decades, 8 of them, right? So if the average, man listening to this is 38 years old, your life is statistically half over. If you're a female and you're 9, your life is statistically half over. I always say that, and I pause, and I see people in the audience thinking, going, oh my God, I'm 54. Listen, you're in your 5th decade. You've only got 8 of them, statistically. So if you're in that 5th decade, just look at how fast the last 4 decades went, okay? So looking in front of you a little bit, you're saying, oh boy, what do I have, 20 years left? Maybe 30 if I start doing the right things, right? So these types of considerations, the very reason I talk to people about your life isn't over because you're 50 or 55. It's just beginning, in a sense that you need to grow another branch off your tree, off your story. Okay? Our life, all of our lives, are a series of stories. That's what our lives really are. Our financial story, our youth story, our parenting story, our wellness story, our career story, our faith story. They're stories. You are writing a page in that book every day. The question is, who is the author of your story? Is it going to be toxic food companies that you're buying all their crap food? Is it going to be listening to the narrative of the pharmaceutical companies? Take this drug if you're feeling, bad. Or are you going to be the author of your own story? And I push people to consider taking the pen and the piece of paper. You start writing your own story. These types of ideas that I like to talk about really set the stage for somebody saying, you know what, okay, uncle, I give, let me listen to this, because I don't like the direction I'm going. And this sort of primes somebody to really start thinking about, what they're doing. And it's a really important time for somebody to take a minute and think about that. Our answers out there. 2026, Okay. It's not 1941 anymore, right? There's enough research and development in the exercise science field where we know a heck of a lot more today than we did even, 15, 20 years ago. So
Mm.
you just have to be getting your knowledge and information from somebody that can translate that science into action plans. How do I work out? What does working out really mean? And, I'd love to get into some of that with you, Julia, to
Yeah, no,
discuss
I do. 'Cause
these
I was
things.
thinking, because I think, we always tend to fall back if we do decide we're gonna get fit and go down there, you tend to fall back to what you think you used to be doing in your 20s or 30s, which of course isn't gonna work in the same way as you get older, whether you're a man or a woman, you have to adapt and change. It's kind of what is different? How is it let's get into this a little bit. What is different so people understand what is different and why they need to be changing at different stages in their life in
Mm.
these different decades. And what is the science saying about that? Because obviously people saying, oh, well, you've got to do this and you've got to do that when you're 40. You need to do strength training once you reach 40. Well, that's fine and that's good and that's right. But I want people to understand what's going on within them and the reason this is so important to sort of hopefully motivate them to think a bit more deeply about it and what's going on. I don't want it to make it a big stressful thing because
Yep.
you want it to be fun. I think once you understand what's happening within your own body, then it
Mm.
almost gives you, right, now I understand, now I know why I need to be doing that. People just need to understand and know why, I think.
Absolutely right. And I'm a huge believer in the educated person, if they take a little time to understand this, it doesn't become grueling anymore. They have a reason to follow a system. They have a reason for what they're doing. Most people think, oh, I got to work out. Oh, I gotta go to the gym. It's this sort of a downer, right? And that's people that aren't educated because they don't realize enough the results that you're going to get from that time spent, only if you're doing it the right way, are going to far outweigh the 2 to 3 hours a week that you have to really build into your lifestyle in order to do some of this stuff. If I may, I'm going to talk to you right now about a
Yeah, of
little
course.
bit of a structure that may help some people listening, may help them start to understand the pieces that need to be in place is the first thing you have to understand, okay? But even before that, I'm going to say this. Somebody that's 60 years old has a different outcome thereafter compared to somebody that's 28 years old that is working out. Okay, so the human body is highly adaptive, meaning it'll adapt to the stress that you're putting on it, meaning that stress could be bad things, toxic food, excessive alcoholism, drugs, right? The body will adapt to that and you will really fall apart. The other side of the coin is if you're putting good stressors on your body, nutrition, proper fitness practices, blah, 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 all that's, your body's going to adapt in the other direction. So just remember that your body is very adaptive. Okay. It's an incredible, incredible machine. Okay. It's going to take the input and it's going to adapt to it. So obviously we want to feed it good signals. We want it to go into the other direction. So I'm going to start out with what I call the longevity matrix, and
Okay.
perhaps get some framework around this for people listening. And some of your listeners may know this. Most of them probably don't. They may have never heard of it in this way. Okay. So these are 6 steps, literally 99% of what a human body, an individual, man or woman, could be doing. These 6 things, okay, that are going to allow the proper adaptive stimulus to their body, that their body is going to be supercharged. All right. And here they are. I have a bookends on this. There's number 1 at the top. Eliminate toxic nutrition. Eliminate toxic nutrition. In order to do that, you need to have some knowledge. What is toxic nutrition? Do I really, really understand what that is? Once you understand it, it's not that hard. Your choices become easy. I talk about this in my book. It's the first 90 pages of my book. And I really start to dig into that one issue so people can realize I could go to the gym 7 days a week. I could do everything right. But if I'm still eating toxic nutrition, it doesn't matter. It's going to bring all that hard work to its knees. Okay. So we have to understand the nutrition piece is probably, I wouldn't say the easiest, but it's pretty simple. And let me just give you a few tidbits of what I mean. Highly processed foods, like we've all heard about, those are a major problem. All right. The more hands that have touched the food, bigger packaging, the more processed it is, the worse it is for you. And a lot of people know that, okay? So it's the foods that are processed that have the fancy, healthy labels on it. Talk about like over here in the US, right? You go to a store, you go to a health food store, right? Or any big chain, and they have the health bar section. There's 7,000 different health bars, right? And there's a couple, real popular ones. And these are owned by the bad companies, okay? Coca-Cola, Unilever, Pepsi, awful companies. Okay.
It is a bit weird, isn't it? Like these companies, they doing, fast foods and sugary foods
That's
and
right.
foods that are bad, but then they're also able to offer you health foods. Doesn't make
Oh,
sense.
it's unbelievable. So there's a bar. I don't know if they have one over where you are, but there's a couple bars. The Cliff Bar. I'm sure you
Okay.
guys see it over there, right? Major. It's all over a lot of countries. Okay, it's got a picture of a woman or a guy on the little, climbing a mountain, like climbing it, and it's all geared to this health nut. Oh, I'm a cliff, I'm a climber. I must be natural and organic, and I'm outside. It is so laced with chemicals and sugars and fake trans fats. It is awful for you. There's another one. It's called the Kind Bar, KIND. It's probably over on your store shelves as well.
Haven't seen Kind. I don't know. I'll have to have a look. I don't go to that section.
A lot of people grab these things, right? Oh, I'm going to have a snack. Oh, I'll get the Kind Bar. It's so healthy. It's got
Yeah.
nuts in it. Let me tell you something. It is so toxic for you. And these are the types of foods I'm talking about that are still highly processed, but they come across as natural and organic. It's far from it. So you're up against, it's like gambling in a casino. The house always wins. It's rigged against you. Okay. So you have to understand, fake sugars, fake trans fats, food dyes, seed oils. Seed oils are
They're a major problem.
absolutely toxic. They're in 97% of the food in any grocery store anywhere in the world. Shelf extenders extend the shelf life of a product. They're so toxic to you, and a lot of them have these labels that appear to be really healthy. They're not healthy. The easiest way for me to a lot of data across to people on this particular point, buy my book. Obviously, I want people to buy it. It's the best, $17 you're ever going to spend, because I go into what this really means. There's a lot of data in this book that allows people to really understand this. Okay. Just the beef and chicken and all that stuff, full of steroids, full of chemicals. Okay. So I call this whole thing I'm talking about earth food versus factory food. Earth food is the less hands that touch it. And a lot of people, a lot of my clients will find a local farm, or they'll find a really local purveyor that buys really good grass-fed beef, grass-fed chicken. They won't buy the mass-produced beef and chicken or salmon, farm salmon. It's really nasty. You have to buy earth. If it's closer to the earth, those foods are good. They have less chemicals, if all, right? Those are the foods. And again, I talk about that concept in my book. Okay. Start making those choices and start understanding you got to get rid of that stuff. Okay. So the first thing, you have to eliminate toxic nutrition. It's really critical. Then underneath that, there's 4 components in what I call the fitness quadrant. That's another trademark system that I have. Eliminate toxic nutrition's at the top. Inside, underneath that's 4 boxes. And here it is. These are the 4 major phases of fitness. Resistance training, top left quadrant. Top right quadrant is nutrition. The bottom left quadrant is cardiovascular work. The bottom right quadrant is rest and recovery. That is the fitness quadrant: resistance training, nutrition, cardiovascular work, rest and recovery. Each 4 of those quadrants have a drop-down list of heavy sciences. You really need to understand the science involved here. Teach it. So I do all the heavy lifting for people. They don't need to understand all this stuff. I've done the work for them, and you have too, Julia, with what you do, right? So I just have a system where we talk about this fitness quadrant and how it applies to you with whatever your goals are, which most people, they want to lose fat, they want to get, a little bit healthier, all of the things that, most people know, this is what I want to do. Some people want to do it more extreme than others. So everybody has a different blend of really what they want to do. This fitness quadrant can be adjusted to whatever somebody wants to do. The pro athletes I've trained, they follow the fitness quadrant. Okay? I build out their ecosystem. The difference is some of the NFL guys I've trained and the professional basketball players, are resistance training quadrant, the top left, they may be doing a resistance training workout 4 to 5 times a week, okay, rather than 2 times a week for somebody that's 55, is not a pro athlete, so they're not after this huge performance gain out of their resistance training workouts, right? So we tweak the fitness quadrant. All right. So resistance training 2 times a week, maybe 3 if you have some time, right? And I go through there's so much involved in it. It's the biggest bang for your buck, the weight training. And I say weight training, it could be a rubber band, it could be a dumbbell, it could be a cable machine.
It's just getting some resistance, isn't it?
Yeah, we want resistance to get to muscle, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. Right, twice a week. Then the nutrition piece, 3 major meals a day, right? And then we have snacking in between. And, what you choose to eat, how much protein, really, really important. What type of carbohydrates you're eating, when you're eating them. Okay, so we have fast carbs and slow carbs, and, it's all that glycemic index stuff. So we want people, we teach them how to eat the right type of carbohydrates. Carbs get a bad rap. So we want to make sure we address that. Carbohydrates are really important for opening up the cell wall, which drives in protein into the muscle, which we can have what is called hypertrophy. We can have muscle growth inside the cell. So carbohydrates at the right time can unlock the cell, the actin and myosin, which are the little contractile proteins inside the sarcomere, it's called. Okay. So we want to address those things enough where people understand, if I eat the right type of carbohydrates only in the morning and lunch, we don't eat any complex carbohydrates at night, right? We have fruits and vegetables, more simple, right? We've been able to take the human body, somebody 64 years old, and literally strip 25 pounds of fat off them inside of 12 weeks, gain 6 or 7 pounds of muscle through the training protocols, through the fitness quadrant, right? And they're sitting back going, I cannot believe how I feel, how I look. My friends are saying, what are you doing? You look unbelievable. And it's because we've put these components in place and we've given the blueprint for people to follow, right? So resistance training, nutrition, bottom left is cardiovascular. I'm going to talk to you right now a little bit about this important component. Cardiovascular work is one of the easiest things for the general person to say, I'm going to start working out. I got to get healthy. So they go into the gym, they get that treadmill, they push the button, and they start walking for 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes. They get sweaty. Whew, wow, I just worked out. Well, you did, but you didn't really do a workout, an adequate workout. What you did is you trained your heart and lungs, your cardiovascular system, right? And here's the danger in doing cardiovascular as a primary component to your fitness regimen. So when we're doing all this cardio work, our body is using glycogen, which is stored in our mitochondria, stored in our muscle. And our body accesses that fuel to get us through the cardiovascular bout. Most people run out of glycogen because they don't have enough in their diet, okay? And even top athletes run out of glycogen when they're doing aggressive cardiovascular training. Here's what happens. Your body is hunting for more energy source. And during your cardiovascular bout, you think you're getting healthy. And yeah, you're helping your heart out. You are. But here's what happens. Your body goes into a state called gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis. Most people have never heard that term. And what the body is doing is it's starving for more glycogen. So it goes and starts to hunt for nutrient-dense tissue in your body to break it down.
Right.
Guess what that is? It's muscle. It starts to break muscle down, pulls it through the liver because it's after 9 amino acids, and it turns the amino acids into glycogen. So people that do excessive cardio, they actually start losing muscle off their body.
Which that's quite a problem because we know as we're getting older, we tend to be more susceptible to muscle atrophy, sarcopenia, things like that.
Yep.
So you don't want to add more of that to your work.
Yep. We want to balance it. We want to make sure we use resistance training to gain muscle or to maintain the muscle we have on our frame, right? We want to add enough cardiovascular in that we're burning, metabolically burning fat stores, but we're creating a stronger heart, right? The left ventricle wall of the heart actually thickens. So the heart muscle actually grows a little bit if you're doing 2 to 3 cardio bouts every week, but you don't need to do 5 or 6 unless you're training for a sporting event, right? That's a different type of modality training, right?
This is something I wanted to ask you as well, is like, what is the right amount of exercise for you? And should you split your strength training, legs day, or chest day, or back day? And also, I also want to ask you, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Taking, supplements, we all hear about supplements and taking protein powders and creatine and all this. Is that good, bad for you, or
Mm,
is it another toxic nutrient
mm.
that you're putting into your body? And how do you distinguish which are the better ones and which are
What a
the
great question.
So
What a
I've got lots of things there. I've got it all
What a
out.
it's absolute fantastic question. So let me answer some of these to get people to, at least have a little bit of an understanding. So here's what has worked incredibly well for most of the people that I work with that are between 45 and 80 years old, okay? Because they're really starting to fall apart and they're really looking for answers. So here's a formula that we use. First of all, our resistance training is super, super sciencey, very high level. Okay, we use systems. We really won't have enough time today to get into that, but I use systems that would blow your mind in terms of how we can have people do a 45-minute resistance, a very specific resistance training workout. 5 minutes. That's all they are. And they can gain a lot of muscle. Even if you're 50, 60, 70 years old, people are gaining muscle the way we do it. An exercise is done a certain way in a certain pattern, and it has to do with some heavy sciences that when I explain it, most people go, wow, I have never heard of that. And you're right, because of the PhDs I worked with and all that sort of stuff, right? But 2 resistance training bouts every week, 2 to 3 cardio bouts every week, nutrition, 3 meals a day, 3 major meals, right? With enough protein. I'm going to talk to you about that in a second. And then you've got your rest and recovery, the bottom right part of the fitness quadrant, okay? So there's a couple different parts of this equation. So if the person is looking to do a general, they're not training cardiovascular for an event, right? They're not running a marathon or they're not
Yeah.
training for an endurance event. Here's what I do for people. I set them up with a minimum twice a week. Go to the gym, or if you don't have a gym near you, you're going to have to do some light jogging outside or fast walking, depending on their age, their ability. So there's all these factors that play in to that particular client, right? So let's say they have a gym membership. So I either get them, if they're really out of shape, we'll start them on a treadmill. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to get your heart rate, a sustained heart rate, up to about 72% VO2 max. And there's a calculation I give them. I show them how to measure it. It's very easy. I tell everybody, get a heart rate monitor. It's one of your best friends. Get a heart rate monitor, because what I want to do is I want to keep you in a certain heart rate zone that's going to burn the most fat off your body. Most people are looking to burn fat, right? And it's not going to overwhelm you enough where you're going to be passing out. We don't want to ever train that hard. You don't need to, right? Some of my young professional athletes, yeah, I push them extremely hard because these people are working for $30 million contracts. So we are going to push that edge in a smart way. We're going to push that edge. We don't need to do that for the general population. For comprehensive resistance training twice a week, cardiovascular twice a week. And here's the numbers, and I'm sure you know this, Julia, right? For some quick math, take 220, right? Minus your age, 220 minus your age. Whatever that number is, multiply that by 72%. We're going to come up with a beats per minute. And that's a pretty close beats per minute that you're going to need to stay at to burn the most fat effectively. Now, there are variations of that, but that's a great place for people to start on their own, that little equation. And that's the heart rate zone we want to get into. And as a disclaimer, I tell everybody, check with your doctor first, right? Get a checkup.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Make sure you're not going to go have a heart attack and come back and sue me. And, anyway, so that entire system, right? So these 4 major systems, they all work together. All right. So let's go to the resistance training piece just for a second, right? People need to understand that if you have a 5-pound dumbbell in your hand, and I've seen trainers do this, I've seen people that don't have trainers, they sit there and do 40 reps and they get into a lactic, oh, I feel the burn, and oh, I'm burning. And the strategy when you're aging is to maintain muscle mass. If you're lifting weights that are too light, you are not going to stimulate the body to have what we call hypertrophy. So you have to select the right amount of weight in order for that muscle to be stressed enough that it's going to react and it's going to want to add more muscle fiber to it. I'm not talking about lifting 1,000 pounds. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about adequate weights. Somebody that's 65 and has never worked out before, that may be an 8-pound dumbbell. It may be a 12-pound dumbbell. Certainly not a 2-pound dumbbell I see all the time. It's not going to stimulate muscle growth in your body. So you want to pick a weight. The rep range is about between 10 and 15 reps to start, right? when I say 15 reps, just like you, Julia, that 15th rep barely are getting it.
Yeah.
Okay, so people don't understand that. And the problem that happens, this plays into a whole nother thing that we actually educate our clients on, is the kinesiology part. In order to lift an adequate amount of weight, whether it's for your arms or legs or chest, whatever it is, right? You have to have the right biomechanics. Your exercise form has to be proper, and nobody teaches it right. Okay.
Well, that is something I've noticed as well. I think I started out live working out in gyms, is it 26 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever it was. And it was a great atmosphere. We all helped each other train. We were there to spot clients, check their form. And now I don't see that in gyms anymore. You barely get any instructors in the gym, let alone anything else.
Yeah, it's
And it's like,
unbelievable.
for me, it's quality over quantity. You're better off getting 8 perfect reps out than
Yep.
15 crap ones.
Yeah, 100%. So when the biomechanic, and it's a deep study in kinesiology. So I give lectures and I train trainers on this stuff, right? Everything from squatting properly, anterior, posterior tilt of the hips, where do the knees drive, how do you protect your knee? All of that stuff is a big time science, all right? How do you do a back workout properly? How do you do a chest workout? How do you curl properly? So let me just give you just a taste of what I mean. So look,
Yeah.
in our connective tissue, knees, back, elbows, shoulders, embedded in the connective tissue, muscle that's tied to tendons, that's tied into ligaments and bone, right? And in those neurological plates inside of the tissue, we have what are called GTOs, millions of Golgi tendon organs positioned inside the connective tissue. That connective tissue starts to feel torque, right? When the joint is being manipulated incorrectly from incorrect form, those GTOs that are positioned right between the central nervous system and the actual muscle, those GTOs get turned on, and what they do is they turn off the electrical charge from the central nervous system. It shuts down the muscle's ability to fire because it's sensing all this torque, which is incorrect form. So essentially what people are doing is they're not getting the muscle firing out of the exercise because they're doing the form incorrect, and they start to injure themselves. They start getting little micro tears. All of a sudden, in 3 months, they can't even drink a cup of coffee or tea because their shoulder hurts, and they don't know why. Oh, I've been working out. I don't understand why. It's because incorrect form. So again, people end up wasting their time doing incorrect exercises, wrong patterns, and we onboard everybody on this. So we have a big biomechanics section where we teach people how to do these movements properly. And I have pro athletes that are like, man, where did you come from? We don't even learn this for the teams we play for. And I'm like, I know you don't. So I learned it with Olympic PhD coaches, athletes, diodes all over them, and unbelievable stuff.
But you think if athletes have struggle knowing that, your average person is going to know even less.
You're
And it always
exactly right.
happens to me, I always think people always, they go into gyms, oh, I want to tone up, might get a firmer butt or whatever it is they want to do. And they're immediately given things like deadlifts and squats and lunges, and they can't perform them because when you get older, if you've not exercised, everything's tight. You're in dysfunction probably most of the time. And they're put on these exercises and you just think, and like you say, they don't realize how technical these exercises are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you think of a power lifter.
Mm-hmm.
They can't lift that without understanding how the body needs to work to lift it in the first place. If they went into it without seeing how the technical side of it, their career would be over very quickly.
In this science that we're talking about right now, listen, it's not just reserved for Olympic athletes or pro athletes. All of these principles apply to the everyday person that wants to incorporate fitness in their life. That's why we teach it at my company, LifeStrong. We teach, when we onboard somebody, this is all the stuff we go over. And most trainers have never even heard of this stuff. But we have these mechanics that we go through and we coach them, because our goal is to take that person and get their knowledge to a point where they're actually experiencing such great results. Our business flourishes because people are like, you got to talk to this guy. It's a whole different ballgame when you learn those things properly. So that's why I say resistance training is the king of fitness. It's the most complex. It's the most often by far performed incorrectly and at many levels, right? So it's a very big topic. There's so many components in it, but just know that one of the 3 major biomarkers as we age, right? I probably should have talked to you about this at the beginning of the show, is muscle strength and muscle mass, right?
Mm.
So if you address that biomarker, we want to make sure we're doing resistance training in the right way. Resistance training is the only modality that's going to add muscle to your body. It's not going to come from just eating good. It's certainly not going to come from cardiovascular work. So resistance training becomes one of the major components that you have to incorporate to push back on that first biological marker that's going to determine how well you age and how long you live, which is muscle
Yeah.
mass and strength. Second one is heart and cardiorespiratory health. And the third biomarker is your metabolic vitality. Those three markers right there are everything. So you have to have a program that addresses all three of those. And I tell people all the time, this is a combination platform. If you're going to do this right, it's not just eating well. It's not going to move the needle enough for you. It's not just doing cardio all the time. You're not going to get there. It's doing the resistance, nutrition, cardio, and rest and recovery all together. And they're all sitting on the shelf of eliminating toxic nutrition, like we opened up with. And then the sixth thing, I might as well get the sixth thing out, right? I just went over 5 of them. It's the bottom one that the entire thing sits on. And what we do, I'm not sure if you have it over the pond, we actually have, we put all our clients on a customized supplementation package. And I'm so glad you brought that up 10 minutes ago.
It's important. People get confused because there's so much product out there, and which is the right path to go down.
It's unbelievable. I'm so glad you brought this up. Listen, tell you what we do, our company does, and then I'm going to describe. Supplementation industry is a massive ripoff, and I'm just going to be the guy that says it to you. All right.
Nope, I'm happy for you to say it. Let's get disruptive.
95% of the supplements you see on Amazon or the big box store are absolute trash. First of all, you don't even know if you need that vitamin or that mineral. You have no idea. So it's the marketing that sucks you in. Okay. So most of them are made in third world countries. They have heavy metals in them. They have shelf extenders, and they have tablets that are so cheap, the ingredients, you don't even know the quality of the calcium or the vitamin C. You have no idea, right? But they're available and they're everywhere. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry that is just not high integrity. Okay. Now, in the US, we actually do blood panels for people that come aboard. We have 120 biomarker blood panel we do. Typically, it's a very expensive process. Okay. So if anybody in the US is listening, I mean, even overseas, Julia, where you guys are, you can still go onto my website and you'll see what we do. Okay. So it's 120 biomarkers that we get done. It's only $349, which is extraordinarily cheap. We've gotten the price down so far. We make our own supplements out in the Western US, all ISO certified, food grade, and we pre-digest all of them with enzymes. So the bioavailability of our particular supplement line is unbelievable. We only sold to professional athletes for 22 years. We did hundreds of them. We still work with them today. We do their blood work every 6 months. We see the deficiencies in their blood, and then we match them up with customized supplements. Now, these people are competing for multi-million-dollar contracts. They want the best of the best. So that's what we did for them for years. We now offer that program to the public. We have a lot of people on that. You can't do the blood test over in England. You can buy our supplements and just get them shipped over. If anybody's interested, I never push products, and I'm really not pushing them. I'm just saying, hey, be aware that the supplements can be very good if you know the supplements you need. Secondly, you have to get them from a really good source. Ours are competitively priced. It's a replacement cost for most people, but it's one of the easiest things people could do to move the needle on their health. Most people already spend $200 a month on supplements. Okay. So it's a replacement cost. Get really good high-end supplements. They're worth every penny. That's something I urge people to do. If you're training and you're doing, like you and I train a lot, Julia, right? It's a lifestyle we live. Your body's demanding more nutrition, right? It's starving for more. So we want to make sure we're feeding it the right stuff. Okay. So all these things put together, all these combination things, it's a lot. We've done the heavy lifting for people. So they don't need to think about, we put these systems together for people. And I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for what I do. I feel very lucky because I'm able to actually take my story, my experience, and put my story into somebody else's storyline that really wants to do this stuff the right way. And when I see a couple in their 50s or 60s actually start doing this stuff the right way with our programs, I've become so friendly with so many people because we've made a difference in their life. And for that, I'm incredibly grateful for having the knowledge and be able to put together these systems to help people no matter where they are. And I love that connectivity to the world that I have. And again, I pinch myself every day. I'm the luckiest guy around to be able to have that. I never knew where I was going to end up 20 years ago, right? I never knew, but over the years I've refined and I put together systems that people really can understand and it can really, really help them. So, absolutely love what I do. I've seen it firsthand. People completely turn their life around by doing this stuff the right way, but they have to want to do it. I never try to talk them into it. Just like I'm sure you over the years, it's useless.
You can't force people. They've got to want it.
Yeah.
And they have to come to that understanding themselves and get that one thing that triggers them, whether it's a health, I would like people to be triggered to do something about it before they have a health concern. Sometimes that is the thing that triggers it. But it's actually sort of getting to, instead of sort of looking at your life and thinking it's over, thinking, well, what is it I want to do? And be really strategic and intentional about what it is you want to do. And then find someone, whether it's someone like myself or yourself, or, you can go and have blood work, you could have DNA testing to really be specific and hone in on what you actually need and what's going to be perfect for your specific body, your unique you, if you like, and then build, like you say, a system around it. But you may need help, at least in the beginning.
People do. It's a big science, as you know. And look, people spend $80,000 on a car. They spend $15,000 every year going on a vacation. Good for you, right? What about your body? It's the biggest
this is it. It always
asset you own.
It's how people make a fuss about spending a few pounds on getting a few training sessions, but yet they'll spend thousands of pounds on, like you say, a new handbag, or everyone will speak about spend thousands of pounds on a new handbag. A specific type of group will spend that. But, they'll spend thousands, like you say, on clothes, on holidays, on going out. It's all good to have. We're not saying don't have those things.
That's right. But
it's what do you want? Because you can have all the great clothes, you can have the great car, but when your health goes, none of that is going to be of any use to you.
It is useless. And I write about that in my book as well. We have a priority problem. The world, not just the US or where you are, the world is like, listen, it is your number one asset. So you've worked hard, you've developed a career, you've, invested, you've done whatever whatever you've been doing over the last 20, 30, 40 years. Wouldn't you like to enjoy it instead of, nosediving into, oh, I can't do that because I'm sick, or I can't, my knee hurts, or my back, I had surgery. Oh, listen, man, dead things don't move. Living things move, right? Move more the right way, put the stress on your body through the proper fitness protocols, and your body will start to adapt and it will turn itself around. Give yourself the gift of that, and your entire life gets better. Your entire life, you have more energy, you have more, but you got to commit to it. You got to understand that, it's a system, it's a program. If you're doing it right, it's not going to take any more than 3 hours a week. Right? Anybody can find 3 hours a week if they really want to be healthy, live healthy and strong, rather than decay into sickness and weakness. Okay.
And I think for one thing, it's, don't wait to say, well, I'll put it in the diary when I've got a bit of time, because it will never happen. You've got to put it in the diary and prioritize it above anything else, unless an absolute catastrophe happens. Pick your times and do your best to stick with that. And then you develop over time, you develop a routine, and it just becomes second nature then.
And, I also start talking my book. It's over 300 pages, my book. And I really put, a lot of information in there, and I get a lot of good feedback. People saying, wow, there's a lot of information in this book. I save all the, the sciencey stuff, the heavy stuff for the end of the book in case, some people don't want to know about that, but I dig into it the last, 20, 30 pages. But, I will say parts of my book in the middle, I talk about, create the conditions for yourself to thrive a little bit with a fitness routine. And what I mean by that is, are your group of friends, would they rather go to the pub and drink every afternoon? The ones, living an unhealthy lifestyle, I'm not saying get rid of those friends, but what I'm saying is it goes a very long way if you have a new friend, or you make a new relationship with somebody that really is interested in fitness and health and well-being. I happen to, my wife is 63. She looks like she's 45, incredible shape. And we together for decades. We trained together. My two boys in their early and mid 20s are absolute monsters. So we live what we preach, we live what we teach. And we're kind of known for that in our circles and our networks. There's no BS on our side. We do
Yeah.
it. We actually live the lifestyle. And my wife, she's 63, and people are in the gym. They're like, I cannot believe how incredible your wife is, her body. She's 125 pounds. She's got abs. She's very strong. She's very agile, mobility. And it's a nice compliment to have somebody in their mid 20s or early 30s say, I cannot believe you guys. I still fight my jujitsu. I still fight at my age 61, and I'm very strong. I'm 190 pounds. I'm, probably 12% body fat. I eat like a horse, but I eat the right foods. And I'm still training and rolling and fighting with these kids, 25, 26 years old, and a great group of guys. But the only reason I can do that at my age is because my training allows me to keep that going in my life. So I like to be that example. I don't like to be the one just telling people what to do. I like to say, listen, I do the same workouts you're going to do if you train with me. Encouraging thing for a lot of people, knowing that I do the same thing, as you do, Julia, as well. And
Yeah.
it's pretty cool when people start to really understand how much it can affect their life.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping we can sort of swing the needle in the direction so more people are starting now rather than waiting. But obviously, if there are younger people listening, this is a good lesson for you. If you start now, and it makes a difference. I mean, I certainly think, because I started getting into weight training when I was about 24, 25, I think it was 93, something like that. I think that's the reason I've managed, I've had injuries and God knows what, but I think that's what's helped me recover and stay strong and relatively pain free. So I've put a lot of faith in that and how that's
Mm,
helped me in all areas of my life, I think. And I think when you're fit, when you're healthy, when you're strong, generally make better life decisions. And I think,
absolutely.
and that
Absolutely.
not just yourself, it affects the people you're around and your whole environment, I think.
Yeah, one of the stage speeches that I give, it's called The Roots of Longevity and Performance. And I talk about these factors of proper fitness, wellness, longevity protocols, how it can affect your career. So companies love it because they're like, yeah, we would much rather have a healthy,
Yeah, of
employee
course.
base, right? They're sharper, better decisions, higher productivity, but it's also a personal thing. I tell people a lot of times, all these big companies in the world, think about it, Bull and, Google and all the big ones, right? They spend hundreds of millions of dollars every year to get their brand right, to get their brand. So when you think of Apple, oh, wow, what a company, high tech, man, they're really good, right? Hundreds of millions a year. And people work for these companies, helping them, right, get their brand proper. Okay. What about you? You are your own brand. Are
Yeah.
you going to be an unhealthy, chain smoking, alcoholic? What is that saying about your personal brand? Right? Because you are a brand to your family, your spouse, your kids, maybe, to your network, your friends. You want to have somebody really kind of look at you like, wow, that girl or that guy, wow, they're really sharp. They're in unbelievable shape. Says something about you. And that's important to me.
Yeah.
Some people don't care. I do. I want to be that example for people. And that's a positive thing in this world that is so overwhelmingly negative most of the time. As we know, we won't even get into that, right? But
That's a
it's,
whole different subject.
oh
I could
man,
talk hours on that. I have my very own opinions on that one.
right? So it's your own little ecosystem of positivity. You get into it. You have a friend or two that you do it with. It's a shining light of my week. Even if I'm going through something hard, I go train and I get out of that mindset. When life is great and I'm happy, I go train. It's such a thing I look forward to. It's so personal, but I share it with my friends and my wife and my kids, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm not some fanatic. I'm not training 10 hours a week in the gym. I don't need to do that. We do it in a smart way based in science. So we get a really big bang for the buck, limited amount of time and huge results if you're doing it the right
So at the end of
ways.
the day, it's, as you get older, you do have other things in your life and you want to have time for those things. So being able to really be very specific about it and have those specific times for it,
That's
and then
right.
you free up the rest of your time and you'll have the energy to enjoy all the other things as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yep, for sure. Yeah.
Look, Tim, this has just been fantastic. I love the energy you brought, and your knowledge is phenomenal. I've learned a lot. So everybody else is definitely going to learn a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. There's much more. Maybe I'll come back sometime and we'll get
Yeah.
into some other
Oh,
details that people will
please.
be fascinated by.
I think that would be a very, very good
Yeah, I
idea.
would love to. I love your questions. I love what you do in your fitness journey and you teach people. I love it. But the more people kind of realize what can be had here, I feel like it's our job is to get people to learn more and more and incorporate it in their lives. It's a very good, positive thing. And
Yeah.
I just love what I do. So,
And the other thing I want to say is, people don't look at whether they look at you, look at me, or someone else, and don't think I've got to be them.
right.
You know, perfect is no one is perfect. It's a constant learning. It's constant changing and adapting. But find out what's perfect for you.
Yeah,
What is it you want?
100%. It's such a
You know,
great point.
if you don't want to be ripped and muscular, you don't have to
You
be.
don't have
But
to
maybe you
be.
just want to be able to do normal everyday things. Pick your grandkids up, or be with them in the park, or whatever it may be.
It's such a great point you bring up. One that I probably don't talk about enough. It's like, look, don't strive to be somebody over there or somebody on a magazine. You might end up being better than them. You don't know. Just do your thing, get healthy on your own accord, and is enough for yourself. And you don't need to chase at anybody or everybody else. You do what
Yeah.
you're doing, and you get satisfied with what you can accomplish.
Yeah, advice. Just before we go, just let everyone know where they can find out more about you.
So, I really would encourage people to pick up a copy of the book on Amazon. That is a great piece. I write all about a lot of stuff in there, as we've talked about. It's became a bestseller 21 days after I published it there, which was really a
Brilliant.
surprise to me, which I didn't believe it with my publisher. I thought he was kidding me. So I was happy about that. But the other thing is my website is the connectivity point to everything we do. People can email me through there. We've got programs we're launching, little modules of training, really inexpensive. So we've got, there more detailed programs of private training. We got everything on that website. If people want to go there, it's www.lifestrong.
Brilliant.
Lifestrong.net is a lot of information on that website. And I encourage people to go on, cruise around, and, email me if you want. And I'm here to answer
Yeah.
some questions
Perfect.
on the emails. And I just love people that reach out to me. It really means a lot to me. So.
Thank you, Tim. Look, thank you so much. Thank you again for coming on. I
Mm.
really appreciate you coming on and sparing your time from your busy schedule. And thank you to everyone who is listening in. And we look forward to seeing you here next time on
Mm.
Unleash Your Inner Athlete.
It's been an
Thank
honor to
you.
be on the show. Thanks so much.
My pleasure.